Okay, so I'm going to go on to a second part. So sometimes you look at the site and you're really close in looking at it, right? You see its boundaries, you see the trees that are immediately around it, right? You see the terrain right around it. Other times you look at a site from a further distance to understand its context, right? To understand where that site sits in relationship to a larger sort of condition. And this drawing right here is the hypothetical condition that is your context. It is a site that is on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. So one of these contours represents the Pacific Ocean, right? There is a hypothetical valley bounded by two hills on either side, okay? And there's a village down in the valley up above the coast. And there's a parking area that comes off of this road that's coming across here. And there's a pedestrian walkway, a 4-foot wide dirt path that leads up from the parking area and the visitor center up to the site. And you can see that sort of stomach-shaped site right there. You guys see it there? Okay, that is this. Okay, and I gotta turn it around because it's actually like that. So if you look at that long skinny path that's coming up, that's the path that you see right here. These two large trees are the row of trees that are kind of going up to the site. All right? Yes, ma'am?
Are we able to move trees?
No. You cannot move trees. You cannot move the walls. Yes, sir?
Since the walkway is going uphill, are we going to be provided with the slope and or the interval for the topography, or do we have to find it ourselves?
That's it. What Mitchell showed you a minute ago. This is the topography.
Okay.
Okay?
Are we going to have to build that?
Nope. You do not have to build that. Okay? All right. Any rate, so it's important that you guys understand how these are used differently from each other. Okay? And this goes in to the first two questions about the approach from a distance and the near-in approach. So let's start with the approach from a distance. The client is specifically asking you to make, as a designer, to make a choice. The choice is make the building fully visible from down the hill. So you see this white shining cube up this pathway from you. Or there are a set of trees, move it back on the site so that it hides behind the trees. But in no case shall you show it halfway. Now, I believe that the document explains why. Why? One of them creates the element of surprise, particularly because of what's happening with the near-in approach to the site. The second one provides a sense of anticipation. As a designer, you're making that decision. This project is very, very scripted, right? We're trying to make it to where it's kind of binary in its choices. Pick this or pick this, right? Not here's a range of things to pick from. This is an entry-level class. We need to start you out somewhere. So we need to make you aware that that's one of the considerations that you got to put out there. Is do I want to create a sense of anticipation? Oh, there it is. I want to go see that, whatever sculpture that's up there. Or do I create a sense of anticipation and mystery by hiding it and going, well, I know it's up there, but I can't see it. Let's go. Let's get up there. That's decision number one. That is the approach from a distance. And that's one choice that you guys have to make. Visible or completely hidden, but not halfway. Okay? Yes, sir.
Okay, so just to confirm, we can't remove any of the landscape, but we can
Nope.
add to it.
Nope.
So
All you're doing is you're going to put a building on the site and you're going to put a pathway to the building.
so we don't have to use the one that's designated here from parking.
I'm sorry?
We don't have to use the 4 feet pathway you were talking about earlier.
What are you going to do? Crawl through the dirt and the bushes and stuff? Yeah, that's the only path up to your site is that one path leading up through those trees.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, maybe I'm not understanding your question.
It was more in terms of you're saying like make a different pathway. And I'm thinking more like, oh, there's only one pathway. How do we do that?
Your choice is if I'm standing in this parking lot and there's 2 rows of trees on either side, right? And there's a bunch of trees on this side of the site, do I make it visible or hidden from when I stop at the parking lot?
Okay.
Where the location of building will be at the site.
The building can only go one of 2 places. It can either go here,
Or the other.
which will make it visible from the parking lot down below, or you can put it over here, which means it's not visible from down below.
Okay.
Okay? All right. That brings up the next question. The next question on that list that you had brought up was, what is a near-in approach? Now, when we start to look at this site right here, there are only 3 ways to get onto it. You're not allowed to remove landscape, you're not allowed to alter the paths that are there, and you're not allowed to remove the block walls, or not the block walls, the stone walls that are there. So approach number 1 is you create a set of stairs that goes up that slope from the main road or the main walkway that's coming up. Okay? So this is approach number 1, is accessed by stairs coming up that walkway. Approach number 2, there is an opening between the 2 stone walls on the east side of the site. You can bring someone up, walk around the corner, and enter in right there. Access point number 3 is at this end of the site where this wall ends, more towards the west end, and that creates an axial approach into the site. So that is your 3.
Stand out again.
So there's 1 here, 2 here, and 3 is an axial approach off that line. Yep. So those are your 3 approaches. If you hand me one of those pieces of paper, you can actually draw them onto the site. Hand me one of the large pieces of paper. How many minutes are we at, guys? 7? Okay, so I'm going to draw these on here. So number 1 is your first axial approach, or your first approach, is by taking the road and creating a set of stairs up that slope up onto the site. So you see the number 1. Yes? Your second access point is right there between those 2 walls on the east end of the site. Okay? And finally, the last one, there's a section where the road straightens out, where it's coming off of this curve. And where the road straightens out, the line of the walkway into the site comes straight off of the straightening of that road. That's the only 3 places that you can approach the site from. So the first decision that you have to make is visible or not visible. Am I going to create a sense of anticipation or a sense of surprise? Your decision. Once you do that, that's going to start to feed into how do I approach it once I get up to the near-end site? 1, 2, or 3. What impact do you guys think that might have on the location of your entry porch?
It will be facing the pathway that you choose.
Mm-hmm. So your entry porch has to confront the axial approach that you're coming up to the building. Now, the one caveat I'll take in that is that if you choose approach number 1, you're going to have to create a porch that wraps the corner. And you are allowed to do that. Okay? Why do we create an entry to a building? To get in. There's a door on this wall right over here, straight down. There's 2 or 3 doors right in that brick wall. Maybe some of you have noticed them. Have you, since you've noticed them, have you ever confused those for the entrance to the building?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah. So
Really?
when you're walking and you're like, huh. Like when I first got here, I was like, that's so weird. Like, where do I enter? Is my costume down here? You have to...
No. See, I've never confused those because they're like a door in a flat wall. There's nothing that's a visual clue about this is entrance, like a canopy covering over, or it being a set of 2 doors that open up. See, I've never had a problem entering up here because there's that long overhanging thing and a staircase that leads to it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a problem entering from the north or the south because there's either stairs or a plaza, right, that confronts that entrance. The entrance is kind of in the center, and you kind of walk in and la-di-da-da, you're in. Each of those has an element that speaks as an entrance statement. Whereas those 2 doors, if you guys have not seen them, when you leave today, walk down there and look at them. They're beige doors, and they're down on the ground floor, right? And they just look like a door in a wall. There's not even a little overhang over them. So I've never confused them, but I guess you have. So
I was really new.
what's that? You're really new.
Really new.
It's important to signify to somebody this is how you enter the building. Sometimes you are putting the entrance in an obvious place, right? Other times you're putting the entrance in a not so obvious place. You guys all read the article on the Parthenon, right? There was a ceremonious path that people took to enter the Parthenon up on the Acropolis. And you started down at the bottom and you came up some ramparts, and then you entered through sort of this entrance portico and you entered a plaza, right? And the Parthenon was off up to the right, up a hill. And there was a statue there. I don't remember what the statue is, but there's a statue right in front of you as you entered that plaza. And to enter the Parthenon, you walked around to the back side of it and entered from the opposite end that you were coming from. Frank Lloyd Wright was known for purposely hiding the entrance to his buildings at times.
Unity Temple just opened up.
Oh, cool. I was watching.
That's the famous one. Enter low and from the side.
Yeah.
Was this thing, and the reason he would do it, especially in those early buildings, he would actually use it to compress the space. He would go in, ceiling. He's famous for these low ceilings. He would just push you down as far as he could. He'd make you make 2 or 3 turns, and then you'd step into this void and just go, oh my God, it's terrestrial paradise indoors. But coming back to the Propylaea, which is the part of the Acropolis ensemble that Iggy was just talking about, that gateway served a similar purpose for the space of the top of the Acropolis, where the Parthenon, the Archaeum, all the other structures, all the other structures were, and it would serve a similar thing. They'd give you something to walk towards, as we're talking about, coming up this axial, first serpentine and then axial stair. It would give you a moment of threshold, and then when you stepped into the space, you were a new person in a very abnormal place, extraordinary place. And you had to confront the realities of that new extraordinary place in order to, orient yourself to music. And I think a lot of that, these 3 choices, are framing different kinds of potentialities for your building on this site. And each one is distinctly different and has been choreographed with the kind of surrounding land, the how shall I put it, the foreground, middle ground, and background of the site in very deliberate ways. So all of these choices, if I'll just maybe I'll destroy the, maybe Iggy's pedagogy a little bit here.
Nope.
But
Not at all.
each of these choices is loaded with a set of different scripted responses that will inflect on your building when you start designing it on the site. So depending on where you put it, your choice of how your building is accessed will influence profoundly the design choices you make in the building itself.
And that's part of the exercise. The part of the exercise is to understand that when you make choices, you're limiting the potential options. Okay? And that's true of pretty much anything in life. Once you choose some things, you're picking a path. Right? If you chose to head east, you're not heading west. You're not heading north and you're not heading south. And so I warned you guys that this thing is heavily scripted. You guys are going to be given choices to make, but he's right. You're going to discover that all of a sudden, as you make a choice, the walls close in, and now you have the limitations of that path.
There's no wrong choice, but it's definitely a choice between a pineapple, a banana, and an orange. So
Or how about a watermelon?
In their own way, all are equally good, but no one would mistake one for the other.
I like watermelon better. All right, I got to stop this video. It got really long.